Rutgers losing to Iowa 38-28 in a very frustrating loss. Thanks for listening to my rapid reaction. I've had top it all off. I've had a ton of technical difficulties tonight. It's a long story, and I've read some comments that my mic wasn't sounding so good last time. I have a professional mic. It's going to try my computer. Anyway, I got to order one of those, you know, little mics that I've used before in the past. I've just, I guess, gotten a little lazy with that, but I'm working on it. And I just recorded another episode, and my eyes were falling apart, and I'm shot. But I've certainly recorded later than this, and this was one of those that when you're as old as I am, and you could be younger than me too. I mean, I think a lot of people, astute Rutgers fans, saw how this game was going to end pretty early on. Uh, as good as the offense looked, I mean, David Anderson and I were texting. It was very clear to me. I tweeted this in the first half that Rutgers was going to have to make big play after big play after big play to win this game. And Iowa just needed to kind of do their thing and wear down the Rutgers defense with the run game. And that's unfortunately what happened, more or less. Iowa averaging over 4 yards per carry. In this game, it was like 4.6 for most of the game. I think the last drive when they knelt down, it negated that. It finished 4.2. But Iowa was solid on the ground game. They weren't dominant, but they were solid enough. Had 160 yards on the ground. Rutgers just 70, could only just 2.3 yards per game. Very reliant on the pass. Scarlet Knights came out on fire. It was 12 of 14. Rutgers offense was clicking. Obviously, Iowa had that 100-yard kickoff to start the game. Special teams was really the difference for Rutgers in this game. I mean, that's what killed them. They gave up the touchdown early. They almost gave up a punt return. They got lucky that Wetjen didn't wisely go out of bounds with like 2 seconds on the clock. Tried to run it all the way back and almost did. But the clock ran out. They went to the half. And then 2 missed field goals. That drive, that first drive they kicked the field goal was 21 all. You knew someone was going to blank. Rutgers on a third down. It was a missed pass interference call by the refs. And then on the Patel 32-yard field goal make, which he made, there was a false start. And then they pushed back 5 yards, and he doinked it off the post. And the 18 consecutive field goals program record is is done. And then he had another one blocked. Both kicks under 40 yards. Just low kicks for Patel lately off the ground. It's snaps haven't been great either, but I think tonight was more him just kicking it so low off the ground and not getting it high enough on the initial impact. And those 2 missed field goals and the special teams touchdown. I mean, that's the ball game. Now, obviously, the other 2 units could have picked them up, and I thought the defense was okay. I thought they had some moments that were encouraging. Again, Iowa's not that good offensively. They scored 38 points. Obviously, 7 was on the special teams, with 31 offensive points. I thought the most disparaging part for the defense was when the offense needed them to step up. When it was 31-28, Scarlet Knights' first interception of the year got tipped. Offensive line was really strong early, wore down late, and Iowa had the ball in Rutgers territory. You needed a stop. You needed to hold them to a field goal to give the offense one last shot to go down and score a game-winning touchdown, and they couldn't do it. And it's not like it was even close. They just got steamrolled on that drive. And, Shiano always talks about complementary football, and I'm concerned at this point. I mean, this is a season-sealing, lowering loss. This was a major swing game. The road to 6-7, possibly 8 wins, is much tougher now that you lost this game. And I just worry that the offense has so much pressure on them to lead this team. And if the defense can't get timely stops, they don't have to be a top 30 defense. They're going to give up some yards. They're going to give up some points. But if they can get huge stops in huge moments of games, it's going to make a big difference. And if they can't consistently, then the offense is going to have to execute at such a high level and score so many points that I just worry the weight of that is going to come crushing down at some point this season. And they don't have a dominant run game. And Cali Commandus, he was still. I mean, at one point he was 21 to 30, so that's 70%. He was right there. Just 3 of his last 10, but a lot of those were desperation throws under pressure. Iowa had 8 hurries in this game. Rutgers just one. Was it hurries or quarterback pressure? I think it was quarterback pressure. Um, yeah, that's what it was. Quarterback pressure. Um, 3 sacks for Iowa, 2 for Rutgers. But also, I thought a key stat in this game, Rutgers scored just 7 points in the final 42:07 of this game. 7 points in the final 42:07. Not nearly enough. Yes, they scored 21 in the first 27:53 of the game, which is fantastic. But this team's going to have to, in Big Ten play, you're going to have to score high 30s to win. You're just going to have to do it. And this is the first game, I think, in 8 games that they haven't scored more than 30. And again, red zone, Iowa 5 of 5, Rutgers just 4 of 6. Kills them once again. Now, listen, I get it. The Iowa defense was all over Rutgers receivers in this game. There were some penalties called, pass interference called, but there was definitely some that weren't. Rutgers definitely got called for some questionable calls at some point. They were 6 penalties, 50 yards. Iowa just 2 for 30. But this reminds me of like when Steve Pikiell's teams were getting good. And I used to say this back then. It was like when you're a mid-level program and you're kind of trying to be on the rise, but you're playing a core brand of the Big Ten, you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. And that's why in a close game, like if you make mistakes and you're putting yourselves in a position to get burned by not getting the benefit of the doubt in those situations. And I think that's kind of what happened tonight. Rutgers cannot overcome their own mistakes. They cannot overcome officiating that certainly allowed Iowa to exert the physicality. I said at halftime I felt physicality would win over any adjustments that could be made at halftime. Iowa did blitz a lot more in the second half. But still, Iowa was the more physical team. I thought they wore Rutgers down a little bit. And it's extremely disappointing. It's a tough loss. It's a frustrating loss, for longtime fans. I mean, this is certainly in the really frustrating losses that we're going to remember for years to come because it could be even more memorable down the road because if they fail to make a bowl game, this game is going to be at the top of the list of one that just got away. And not to mention the positive momentum of going 4-0, the national publicity there. I talked about my preview with David Anderson, Kelly Zinn, getting momentum to be able to make some corporate calls this week if they're 4-0. Not going to happen in terms of having that momentum. And it's a shame. It's certainly a shame. I mean, Ian Strong, unbelievable player. I did love the drive down 24-21, fourth quarter. Shiraka wisely just went to his best player time and time again. Ian Strong, 3 huge catches on that drive. Finishes with 8 catches, 151 yards, 12 targets. KJ Duff was good, 7 of 92 on 13 targets, 25 targets total between the two, 15 catches. Sheffield was kind of quiet, 3 for 51. I was looking for him at one point. I thought they needed to try him deep. Did draw a big pass interference at one point. Kenny Fletcher was utilized, 3 for 24. Weber left injured, but had 2 for 11. Deshaun Benjamin just 1-1. Raymond, 18 carries, 62 yards, just 3.4 yards per carry. And then Benjamin had 2 for 4. So running game's a bit limited. Rutgers had the ball 19 minutes in the first half, just 12 minutes in the second half. 3 consecutive 3-and-outs to start the second half. Again, the offense, they can't take those kind of breaks. They can't be inefficient for a stretch in games in Big Ten play. They have to bring it. They have to be effective. They have to be aggressive. They have to move the ball, get points on the board, or this team's going to struggle to win Big Ten games. And the difference between winning this game and not, I think, is just massive in terms of how you approach the rest of the season. You go to Minnesota where they're looking for payback. They're on a bye week. Then you're on a bye week, and then you're at Washington, then Oregon home for homecoming. I mean, this thing can go south pretty quick. And again, I worry about the pressure on the offense. I did like some things on the defense. I mean, Eric O'Neal came through with a huge sack at one point late in the game. I think third quarter maybe. Abram Wright made some back-to-back big plays on a drive. So did Cam Miller, who kind of redeemed himself for a bad penalty at one point. Um, so there, Jabome had some big hits, but all in all, um, you know, just not enough complimentary football. And with the home crowd, with the electricity at SHI Stadium, the environment, the opportunity to go 4-0 against a beatable team, a program we've never beaten, as good of a chance to beat Iowa as they ever have. And, you know, Kirk Ferentz just has Shiano's number, and they fall the Hawkeyes 38-28 on the blackout game. And they have to regroup quick because they got to go to Minnesota next week. But just trying to think. I mean, it's late. I'm trying to think of more stuff. I probably forgot something I wanted to say. But just going back to the penalty stuff, like you can't blame that for the loss. Rutgers shot themselves in the foot way too much, especially on special teams, to blame any officiating. All I'm saying is, when you're a mid-level program and you're playing a core brand of the Big Ten, you have to be better. You have to be noticeably better to beat those teams because you're not going to get the breaks. You're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. And that's what happened tonight. So Rutgers, just a failed opportunity. One we've seen far too many times before. Just looking for a couple last tidbits here. If there is anything of big plays. 15 plus yard passes. Iowa had 6. Rutgers had 7. Big play rushes of 10 or more. Iowa had 5. Rutgers had just 1. It was a Cal McManus keeper. They did score on a tush push, which was impressive against Iowa. But overall, this Rutgers team just not enough. Just not enough as a team. And the defense couldn't get a stop when they needed it. Special teams couldn't get, pretty easy points when they needed it. And the offense stalled too far, in that second half and allowed Iowa to assume control. And it was just too much to overcome. Rutgers losing 38-28. And I don't have much left. I really appreciate everyone listening and watching. It's just, it was one of those nights. It was frustrating all the way around to even get this out. And it just added to the list. Added to the list of losses that we go through the years. Like, what if they won that game? The season would have completely changed. I worry, I fear this is going to be that game for 2025 season. Thanks so much for watching and listening once again here at the Scarlet Faithful podcast.